Welcome to Baymore Stables Presents Chatter at the Bit. Today we're going to talk about how horse breeds get bad reputations and how people are so adamant about certain breeds, which is really quite funny. For example, I hate Appaloosas. It's not that they're a bad horse. I've had a few of them and none of them were good for me. But the breeders of Appaloosas could absolutely sit and explain to you all the great things about Nappy. I just pretty much don't want to hear it, but I would never deter somebody from buying one either. I would be happy to explain to them what my experience is, but I wouldn't say don't buy one. And that's what a lot is what's going on in the business is you kind of have people saying, oh, well, don't get this horse, or this horse can't do this, when they really don't know. And opinions like that are based on their experience, and it's usually a bad experience. And you kind of sit there and go, okay, well, she's experienced or he's experienced, and this is what they're saying. And it goes back to, is the horse bad, or was it bad training? So we're going to kind of look at a few things here. We're going to look at first the thoroughbred. Everybody knows the thoroughbred, and you can say people that they're stupid, they're crazy, they're hot, they're unmanageable. I've had now we've had 6 of them that, I used to have that opinion, but now it's like, no, they are very forward moving, they are very excitable, because that's what they're bred for. The breed originated in England, and the only thing was a thoroughbred was whatever could do the racing or the steeplechasing. So they were finding in England that their big, pricey thoroughbred horses weren't fast enough. So they brought in 3 Arab stallions. And everybody knows the story about Darley Arabian, Byerly Turk, and Godolphin Arabian. And 98% of all thoroughbred horses today can be traced back to those 3 Arab stallions. So then you got to wonder, is thoroughbred an Arab? Or is it a thoroughbred? And you kind of sit there and go, okay, but what did the Arabs bring to the thoroughbred? Arabians are known for their speed, and they're known for their durability in tough conditions. That's why they're called the desert horse. They are known for that. They're known for their stamina and their endurance. And they're another breed that can get very excitable, but is highly intelligent. So you gotta sit back and wonder, okay, we have this, and this is why they call thoroughbred racing the sport of kings. Because back then, it was only the rich that could afford a thoroughbred. And it was only royalty that could bring these Arabians in to refine their horses. And it's kind of funny because it goes back to a perception of the breeding. And if you see pictures of the 3 Arabs, it's like you kind of look at them and say, huh? Because Arabs are not a big horse. Thoroughbreds can be. So you just you sit there and go, okay, but I can understand when it comes to steeplechasing, it's like, okay, they need something with a bit more endurance because those races are long and hard. Would I have chosen an Arab to cross with a thoroughbred? I probably would not. But I can understand why they did. Now, everybody knows thoroughbreds. Everybody's heard of Secretariat. Everybody's heard of Man o' War, the greatest horse to ever look through a bridle. Spectacular bed. And then they have Ruffian. Now, I don't know if many of you would know Ruffian. Ruffian was probably, by all accounts, the world's best thoroughbred mare. She's not a big mare. I think she was only 15-1. But she beat all the boys. Consistently beat the boys day in, day out. And it came up that the one day they were going to have a match race. It was Ruffian, the little mare, against the top. I don't even know who she was matching against. But they actually have the video on YouTube, and it is heartbreaking to watch because Ruffian snapped her leg around the 3/4 pole, and the jockey, knowing that something was wrong, tried to pull her up, and the damage she did, it was not repairable. But you kind of wonder, how much heart did that horse really have? And sadly, she had to be put down. But that was just, you can't blame the breed for that. That was a circumstance surrounding it. And a secretariat, like, if anybody's seen the movie or seen the video of the 31 length win, I mean, it is exhilarating. And Man of War, the 18 hand, I think 18 hand Red Stein, they say the greatest racehorse, won 20 at 21 races. So thoroughbreds are very versatile, but they also have to be understood as a breed. So if you're getting a thoroughbred that, as you put it, is crazy or stupid, don't be so quick to blame the horse. You might want to blame the training of the horse, because you would be amazed. And like I said, I'm a standy person, but you would be amazed when I watch people riding, how heavy-handed they are, how they're having the wrong bit, how they're giving missed signals. This is all going to equate to having a stupid horse, no matter what the breed is. So sometimes a retrain is necessary, but some people are quick to blame the horse. So the next horse we have, which is the largest breed registry in the world, the quarter horse. Quarter horse is made of, basically Spanish descent, Spanish Mustangs, and kind of threw it together. In 1940, they formed a registry. And if you look at some of the horses from the 40s, you kind of go, okay, they're part Clyde or something. Like they were bred to work. And the reason for their name is they are the fastest horse for a quarter mile. And they are built like that. When you see the old style quarter horses, you see the big round apple bottom ass. You see the nice slope to the shoulder, strong hip, little head. And these horses are versatile. These horses are durable. These horses, you can go ride the fence line all day. But they have genetic flaws. Since their breed registry was implemented in 1940, there's been issues. And we discussed that in the genetics last time. But they are known for their genetic flaws. But they're also known for something else. Is back in the day, they wanted to breed them with small feet, which thankfully we got bred out of. But it led to prone to laminitis. It led to feet issues, quarter cracks, abscesses. And it didn't make them any better. But quarter horses are a type of horse that, the ideal horse, they say, is between 13.2 and 15, no bigger. Well, you have your HUS prospects, which is Hunter Under Saddle, that are hitting the 18 hands. That is the influx of the thoroughbred. And they brought the thoroughbred in to basically speed up the quarter horse. And to me, is where the barrel racers took advantage of this. Because the barrel racers, I don't care what you do, if you're a barrel racer, kudos, you got balls, man. Balls the size of Mercedes. But to me, when you look at some barrel races from, say, 30 years ago, you can see the change in the horse. So the barrel racers, they wanted the quarter horse, the versatility, the flexibility, the off the speed, but they needed something with more substance and more speed. And you see a lot of barrel racers ride appendix horses. Some of them ride straight quarter horses. I do have to say, West in the Calgary Stampede in 2020, fourth place finisher was a standardbred. Just saying. But it was kind of an afterthought of the horse being let into, the thoroughbred being allowed into the AQHA registry and being registered as appendix. I used to think that wrecked the breed. I'm still not off the fence on that. I don't see the point. If you're going to have a quarter horse, have a quarter horse. You can allow, in my opinion, you can allow a thoroughbred at a sanctioned show. I just don't know what was the purpose behind allowing thoroughbreds crossed with quarter horses to be registerable as an appendix. To me, it comes down to money. If Doc Bar, let's face it, everybody knows Doc Bar, in quarter horses. He was the first quarter horse stallion to have both his sire and dam inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then you have your lines with the Driftwood, the Peppy Sand Badger, the Two-Eyed Jack, the Hancock lines. And they got the King line who brought on the Herda. But in my opinion, I don't know if the appendix has helped the quarter horse breed at all. I don't know. I fail to see how you can sit there, anybody can sit there and say, well, you know, we want to be breed specific and we want to do this, and you're riding an appendix. Because I'm sorry, you're riding a grade with papers. Don't know what part of that you missed. So I'm not sure. I don't know if there's another breed, except Warm Blood, of course, that accepts a completely different breed into the registry. To me, it was a money issue. The owner of the stallion, which is 3 Bars, everybody knows 3 Bars was the thoroughbred that was entered into the registry, and I do believe the owners had enough money to force it. I don't think 3 Bars would have made it as a thoroughbred stallion, but when crossed with the quarter horses, let's face it, he got Dock Bar. And you see a lot of, which is why they came up with the Foundation Quarter Horse Association. Because if you don't have 85% quarter horse in your breed, you cannot be registered FQHA. So they're trying to separate it now from quarter horse to the appendix. I'm still on the fence. I don't think it helped the breed. And 3 Bars was gorgeous, to say the least. Dock Bar's just and Two-Eyed Jack, like I had a stud back to Two-Eyed Jack. I mean, the muscle and the brain on them is just sensational. But I'm not sure if allowing the thoroughbred into the AQHA registry helped the registry. I know you can sit back and say it now because I know they can't refuse it. But in the same sense, accept the consequence. You know, I don't know what I feel about that yet. I'm still doing more research. But the quarter horse, you know, are known, it's the most popular breed. So to own a quarter horse is like owning a pair of khakis. Everybody's got one. You're not going to get anything different. You're going to get the nice colors, the funky colors. But you're going to get something easy. You're going to get something trainable. You're going to get something that's great for beginners. You're going to get something that, you know, it's going to adapt to the atmosphere of where they are. And they're pretty solid that way. And I mean, I breed quarter horses. Mine goes back to Coy's Bonanza, who was inducted in the AQHA Hall of Fame in 2015. And I like my lines. There's lines I don't like. And you're going to get that in anything. People don't want certain lines. But is it because they don't want them or they don't know? Like everybody says, oh, you don't want a Hancock line, where we get the Blue Roan, because they're just cold-backed and stupid. Okay, where's that coming from? But then you got to sit there and think, but what if I bred a line-bred Hancock to my line-bred Coy's Bonanza, who you will not find anybody say a bad word about a Coy's Bonanza. They are smart, easily trained, and just, they're very much an all-round horse. Would that alleviate? You know, something to think about. So then we go on to my horse, Standardbreds. Now, Standardbreds get a hard knock, and I'm getting really, really sick and tired of the people beaking off. We do train our horses, but you hear all the time, oh, they can't be broke to ride, or they're stupid, or they're hot, and you can't control them. What I have to say to those people is, you guys are idiots. Standardbreds are probably one of the most versatile breeds, only because I put them at the top, because they're gated. And you can't name me another gated breed that can also go hunter-jumper, barrel racing, cattle cutting, dressage, because they can be trained out of it. Now, standardbreds, it's not cruel. For anybody who says, oh, it's cruel what they do, yeah, you're an idiot. It's not. I can tell you with certainty, because I breed standardbreds, I've also been in the industry, is we do start our babies as if followed their yearling year. And we jog them and build up their muscle until we usually start about August, September. Then about January, we keep an eye on. Some of the people get x-rays of the knees and stifles hocks to make sure there's enough closure to carry on. But we watch them. We are a fanatic about making sure they're in good shape to start with the longer miles, the harder miles, the training miles. Most trainers in the standardbred industry, it is all about the horse. It's because that's where they're going to make their money. Like, standardbreds have the ability to make $1 million in a season. You know, it used to be where somebody made $500,000, but I mean, there's $1 million horses getting sold as yearlings. And it is a high money game. But what's hurting them is a lot of standardbreds do go to a second career pulling the buggy for the Amish. Not a bad thing. But there's good and bad in every industry. And I cannot stress this enough. For somebody to come in and say, well, Mennonites are cruel to them, it's like, you don't have the right to make that blanket statement. Because, as we all know, my last name's Bauman. And I know Mennonites upon Mennonites who are great to their horses. But if you're saying that because they're driving them is cruel, that's what they're made for. If you want to wrap them in bubble wrap, go ahead. But horses are made to work. Horses are made to do something. And you have them now where we had the big thing not too long ago. Horses are tattooed on the side of the neck with the tattoo that matches their papers. And the standardbreds have decided to go with microchipping. I'm all for it, and I'll tell you why. And I do stand alone here. Because when these, I'm going to say assholes, go to, say, St. Jacobs or any auction, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that brand. Because they know they can pull at the people's bleeding hearts. And there was a case not too long ago where somebody posted a brand that was wrong, and they went on a freaking tirade about how dare the owner let this happen. You guys got to realize, and this goes for any breed, if we choose to sell a horse, there's nothing wrong with that. But once we sell that horse, we can do our best to make sure it's in a good home. But sometimes that doesn't work out in our favor. That doesn't mean we're at fault. It doesn't mean that, oh, well, it got into a bad spot. Well, you got to blame the breeder. What does the breeder have to do with it? You know, people want to blame, to take away. It's time to take the towel off your eyes. If you see any horse being abused, don't make it a breeder issue. Make it a people issue, because it is a people issue. I got 15 out here, and you can go out, and mine are all in good shape, and Greg takes care of them. You know, they're all nice horses. It's a person that chooses to abuse or neglect a horse. There's nobody to blame but that person. So, and you really have to get off this shit. But standardbreds, there is several. Right now, the fastest horse in the world is Bulldog Hanover, and he is at Sealser Farm standing as stud. Canadian trained, Canadian owned. Canada takes tops. Love it. And then you have some horses, you always only hear about if you're not in the breed, you always only hear about the bits and pieces. But we've had amazing horses throughout the years. Everybody wants to say, oh, well, they're Roman nose. Well, no, they're not. They actually have more Araby heads nowadays. Of course, you get the occasional ugly one. But you get that in any breed, or they'll say, oh, well, they pull. Okay. It goes back to the training then. If you have a difficult standardbred or a difficult any horse, instead of finding a way to blame the horse, how about you take your head out of your ass and realize the horse is probably not for you and is too much for you, and get rid of it to somebody who can actually fix the issues. Standardbreds, a normal day for standardbreds is you get up, they get their breakfast, they usually wait about an hour, half hour. Then they're harnessed up. Then they're going out jog 3 to 5 miles. We like to use happy bridles so they can get their heads down and kind of goof around. We are big on shin boots and bell boots, polos. And then they come in, they get a nice bath. They get a clean stall, clean water pail. They get another flake of hay. And then they sit in the stall for the next couple of hours till the rest of the barn's done. And then they're brought out and they get their feet done. They get brushed off. They get their mane and tail done. They're actually, and then they're put in the stall for the night. Some people get done jogging, kick them right out in the field for a run. And then again, if they're out in the field after jogging, they'll come in, they'll get a bath, they get their feet done, they get their wraps on. They're actually quite spoiled. Like you can talk to any standardbred trainer, groom, owner, and they will be able to tell you how much that horse eats, how much water it drinks, where its lameness is, what needs to be done. And it's not because they're overly smart. It's because they pay attention. They spend so much time with their horse. They don't, and I mean, you got to equate. Standardbred people train their horses. Now, what's more cruel? A standardbred yearling being trained for 9 to 11 months to get ready for racing, to build up muscle, to build up lungs, to build up airways, to race in around July of the following year. Or the person that has sat the winter with its horse outside, that pulls him in middle of May, puts him on a trailer, runs him in 3 or 4 classes, and then kicks him back out in the field. Think about that, because that happens a lot. So, but standies is, you see a lot of the warm blood registry is standardbred mares that have been used. Not all horses pace, not all horses trot. Some horses trot, some horses pace. My stallion wouldn't pace if the world depended. Took a mark of 50, no pace in him. He was adamant he was not going to do it. And you see a lot of horses that the pace gate can be, if you understand the training, cantering and galloping for pacers, for standardbreds, in their racing career is a big no-no. What we do is, if they, what we call break, which is break into a gallop or that, we actually pull them to a stop, regate them, and start again. So that's what's imprinted on them. But that's easily fixable if you understand, which we're not going there. So standies are great for endurance because you can take them out, go for a 5-mile ride, and they're just kind of looking, going, what's next? They've been exposed to tractors, to trees, to trailers. You don't get too many that are silly, and because they've had everything thrown at them. So, and you have a lot of them, you got a lot of standardbred people are riders. A lot of standardbred people ride their horses. And so they know what they're going to be like. It doesn't matter to them. So it's a versatile breed that is very misjudged, which is why I personally am thankful they're going microchipping, because they'll be able to stand on their own 2 feet and be judged like every other horse. So, and then we come to the Morgan. The Morgan, to me, is an underrated breed. The Morgan horse is, of course, goes back to Justin Morgan, who was gifted a Morgan horse. Well, he was, I wouldn't even say that. He was gifted a horse in lieu of services. Everybody just called him Justin Morgan, but he was such a good stallion that they named him the Morgan horse in Massachusetts. So, and the Morgan was the type of horse, see, back in the day, going back, you had your draft horses and you had your buggy horses. And it kind of was, the Morgan was something that could pull logs in the wintertime and then still dress up to go fancy in the buggy. And it was a lighter version of a heavy horse, but it was not a thoroughbred, not a standardbred, and well, it was before standardbreds really, and not anything like that. So the Morgans can do it all. Like, I know there is a person, I think in New Mexico, maybe, Wyoming, and he's got a team of Morgans that he does pulling with. And they're, I think, 14 or 15 hands. They're not real big. But they are a type of horse that is very underrated. If you wanted a first horse for your child or for somebody just getting into, I would strongly recommend a Morgan. Because their kindness, and they can stand all day. They'll sit there. They are better than the quarter horse in that sense. Would I use a Morgan to cut cattle or anything like that? Damn right I would. I used a saddlebred once. It was funny as hell, but we did it. What trail horses, competitive horses, endurance horses, I would absolutely recommend a Morgan. Because they are sure-footed, and they are diligent, and they are endurance horses. And they're, to me, they're so underrated. But then everybody wants what everybody else has. Everybody wants what's common, which is the quarter horse. So, but when you get looking at those other breeds, you kind of sit there and go, well, wait a minute. And you always have to look at, in my opinion, you always have to look at, if you buy something not normal, like a Frisian or a Canadian or an Andalusian, what's the resale value on it? It's going to be next to nothing unless you keep within that breed. And so you have to, if you're buying something forever, hey, that's your call. But if you're buying something for breeding and or resell, you have to buy what everybody knows. And that sucks. It really does suck. I personally, I cross my quarter horse and standardbreds, but I really want to cross my quarter horse with a Morgan or a saddlebred or a Tennessee Walker. Now that would be cool. And you can sit there and say, okay, what's the resale value, or what are you doing? You're not breeding to enhance the breed. Define enhance the breed. And it's usually a lot of quarter horse people that say it, and I'm sorry to take the shot, but it's say, well, you breed for the best because you want to enhance the breed. You guys let a thoroughbred into your registry. Name me one other registry that did that. So everything going down the line is crossbred. There's some people that don't give a shit about papers. Papers are good on a horse, but if you can't have papers, at least have lineage. And that's what I'm all about, is at least have the lineage. And I like my register just as much as everybody. But I'm ranch horses. You can go out and fix fence and ride trail, and there's no need for papers unless you're going to resell, breed, or show. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be a necessity too. So you kind of got to go with what your gut's saying. There are tons of breeds out there that are very under examined. They're very, that are great breeds that nobody knows anything about. You kind of sit there and go, well, name the top 4 breeds that or have had something to do with. And they're going to say, more than likely, Arabian, quarter horse, thoroughbred. Those are going to be the 3 top breeds. But there's so many more out there. And there's some that is like the Fjord. Let's go on the Fjord. The Fjord is probably one of the kindest breeds out there. And they are funky looking. They're adorable. I had a friend who used to have a Fjord. And she used to lead her babies with this Fjord stallion. And, I mean, you should be able to do that, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, to watch the stallion leading this baby along, to me, was just heartwarming. Because there is somebody who, is taking a chance on something that nobody knows. And now Fjords are starting to get a little bit more recognition. But Halflingers, another one. They're bad little buggers. But they're adorable. They're miniature Clydes. And I would love to get a team of Halflingers. I don't think my barn would last. But they're something that people are starting to get onto. The Gypsy Vanner is a color breed. They're expensive because it's a novelty. And that's what they've been promoted as, is a novelty horse. And there's nothing wrong with that. I personally don't see the point. I'm not going to spend that much time on feathers, but I do have a friend who breeds them, and I mean, her scion looks absolutely sensational. But you should, if you own horses, respect other breeds. So if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm thinking of buying a Welsh Cob." Don't hand them the "I don't know," or "don't do it." You don't want to do that because it's showing your ignorance. Instead, is come back with, "You want a what?" And a Welsh Cob. It's like, okay, well, let's do some research. Let's see what they're known for. Let's see what breeders are saying. Let's see what, in the States, competitive driving, obstacle driving is big. I think it is in BC too. I would love to go on one of them courses. That would be just the coolest. But, and it's a matter of different horses. The Stampede, the Calgary Stampede, the chuck wagon races. Yeah, they use standardbreds. A couple of use they use thoroughbreds. A couple of them have thrown in standardbreds too. And everybody says, "Oh well, it's cruel." Accidents happen. You can't define an entire event by an accident that happens. And the keyboard warriors need to realize that if there's an accident, it is absolutely heart-wrenching to the people involved. They don't need to hear your shit. It's never about the money or the fame. It's always about the horse. So when something happens, whether it be in standardbreds, whether it be in chuck wagon races, barrel horses, thoroughbreds, you can't define the sport by that accident. They're right now they're hammering Churchill Downs, which I think has polyturf where they have dirt. But you got to realize is they're saying, 2%. 2%. You know how many thoroughbreds are in there? Shit is going to happen. No matter if you're racing horses, riding horses, breeding horses, you cannot define that sport, and I don't care what it is, you can't define it by an accident. You have to go in and, 1, educate yourself. 2, find out what the issue was. If a horse snaps his leg, they can do that out in the damn field. If a horse goes down and breaks its neck, yeah, that can happen. That is the dangerous side. We've all been there. But you can't define the whole thing and scream out abuse and it should be stopped, because there are an amazing amount of horses. If you take every job away from them, what are you going to do with them? Because the same people that are beaking off are the same ones that are sitting in condos in New York and wouldn't have a clue what to do with a horse if it reached up and bit them in the ass. So, and this is what I say to a lot of people that start beaking off. You pull out your checkbook and you bring 5 or 10 of them home. Let me know how that works out. Because you're actually minimizing the versatility of that horse going on to a different sport. Like I have a friend who has thoroughbreds and she rehabs them, and she was actually an exercise rider, and I mean, it enlightened me as to what I was missing in thoroughbred. But would I go out and buy a thoroughbred? Probably not. And it's nothing to do with the breed. It's because it just doesn't bring anything to my vision. And people have to sit back and educate themselves. Get away from the Arab, quarter horse, and thoroughbred, because there's so many more out there that will do better for you if you look outside the box. And people have to understand that no matter what horse you choose, it still has to be trained for you. No horse comes ready-made for its owner. That has to adapt. Both the horse and the rider have to adapt to each other. There's nothing ready-made. There's nothing kid-broke. There's nothing in horses is for sure. So if you're going to buy a horse, no matter what the breed, and I applaud anybody who goes outside the box, but no matter what the breed is, you have to give it time to know if that's the horse for you. I've been blessed in my life. I've had a saddlebred. I've had standies. I've had Morgans. I've had too many to count. Paso Finos of all things. And it all come down to one thing. Everything brought something different to the table. They were all fun though. And I don't necessarily look at breeds. I look what I want in the horse. And when you're looking for that horse, there's 3 things you have to remember. Is nothing's kid safe, nothing's dead broke, and nothing is for sure. If you remember those three things, you'll find the right horse. But you'll find the horse that will grow with you and will adapt to you. And go out and explore other breeds. Go out and, and figure it out. Like, there is so many stallions that have made an impact on all the breeds that you kind of sit back and go, wow. You got to wonder, the Arab is the foundation for thoroughbreds. So has anybody gone and talked to an Arab breeder? Now, I personally like the Egyptian Arabians. A lot of people like the Polish. But I really like the daintiness of the Egyptian. The Polish, to me, are just a more endurance horse. They are just more a working version of the Egyptian. And then you have your quarter horse. Well, then you got your reining horse, you got your halter horse, you got your ranch horse, and you have your hunter horse. Everything can be different, but it all goes back to, what are you looking for in a horse? No horse can do everything. No horse can be your everything horse. You have to realize what its limitations are to what your limitations are. Like, if you want to go out barrel racing, you don't want a Clyde to do it. You just don't. You're not going to get there. And I have a lot of people on my friends that are barrel racers. They're going with the quarter horse and or appendix. And I understand why they're doing it. But I mean, it takes skill to ride a barrel race. Same as bulldogging. The horses that are doing bulldogging, holy shit, I wouldn't jump off a horse onto a damn cow. I gotta learn. I gotta teach myself how to throw a rope, by the way. But these are all horses that are trained for what they want to do. But you're not going to see that bulldogging horse in Spruce Meadows in a Hunter Jumper Elite. You're not going to do that. And you have to realize that, what do you want out of a horse? You can't buy a quarter horse when you want to do dressage. Yeah, they may get you low level, but that's really not the horse you want. And no horse does everything. And find your breeds. Like, take a look at them. Take, like, the Andalusian, the Pasifina, the Tennessee Walker, gaited horses. And they're wonderful for what they are. And you have breeders of these horses that are busting their asses to promote them and are coming up against the quarter horse, the thoroughbred, the Arab. And it's not really fair, because every breed brings something different to the table. And you got to know what it is. But what has to stop is, if you have an opinion on a breed, shut your mouth. Real simple. Is shut up. Because the statements that are being made on any breed is based on ignorance. Because I had a girl not too long ago, a few years I guess, come to me, and she was, oh my God, standardbreds are this. And it's like, I'm looking at my stud and I'm going, I have standardbreds. And she goes, what they do to them? I go, what do they do to them? She goes, well, they're jogging them and they whip them. It's like, are you kidding me? And no matter how I tried to educate her and say, no, that's not the way it goes. That's not what we do. There's good and bad in every breed. And I said to her, that's a standardbred mare. She goes, well, I see the tattoo, so of course I know they're standardbred. And I really just wanted to punch this girl in the throat, because her ignorance was literally infuriating. But I got her, because she had heard I had quarter horses, which I did. I think we had JJ at the time, who's 16 hand, red quarter horse. And she took a fancy. She wanted something about 14-1, 14-2 for a barrel mare, for a barrel horse. And I said, okay. I didn't have any. We had Ruby, but nobody wanted Ruby. Nobody wants Ruby. So then she's walking up the field, and she goes, well, I really like that bay one right there. And I'm looking, and I look at Greg. I said, which one? She goes, the bay one right there. And I'm looking, I go, the one in the green halter right there? She goes, yes. She goes, she has the build I want. I go, no. Not a shot. That's Hannah. Hannah's a standardbred. She goes, that's impossible. Hannah's a standardbred. Well, she doesn't have a tattoo, so she can't be. So I went in, I sent Greg in to get her papers. I said, here's her papers. She goes, what'd you do, 4Gs? I go, what are you, an idiot? Get the hell off my property. Don't ever accuse me of shit like that. And no matter, and that's what my point is if you have an issue with a breed, go to a breeder, go to a breed show. Find out what they do. Find out how it's done. And don't show me taps of a video and pictures. It's like, that's bullshit. Go to a show and and be able to judge the breed with the respect it deserves, because somebody formed the breed many, many years ago for a reason, and they need to be respected for that. So whether you're out on a thoroughbred quarter horse, and I'm hoping lots of standies, because standardbreds, they're awesome. They're just awesome. And you're going to get the horse you want if it's trained for that. You're never going to get a ready-made horse. So, sometimes, as much as quarter horse is the most popular breed, with, I think it's got 12,000, I don't even know. They are the largest breed registry. It's like, maybe it's time to think outside the box. I have my quarter horses, but I also don't have what we call commercial lines. So maybe it's time to think outside the box and see what else is out there, and have some fun with it. But if you're going to offer an opinion on a breed of horse, you better know more than, well, I was told, because that's disrespecting the breed and the breeders of the horse. Is take your time and find out what it is you want to know. There are so many breeds of horse out there. Everything can be what you want it to be with training. Train it well, train it right. You will get what you want. But don't expect anything to be ready-made for you. It does not work that way at all. And just pay attention, but don't go bad-mouthing breeds unless you have talked to a breeder, owned a couple, did some research. Like me with the Appies. I don't like them. Had no luck with them. But I'm the one pretty quick to say they've not been good for me. That doesn't mean they're a bad breed. It just means I won't have one. But I would never begrudge somebody. There's people out there busting their asses in the Appaloosa World shows and that need to be commended on what they're doing. And for the bad ones I had, it might have been me. I'm not willing to rule that out. It could be. And that's today's session on breeds of horses. Do your homework and have a whole lot of fun. Horses is a world that when you open it up outside your box, there's a lot of information out there. That's it for now. See you next time.